It's the internet, you're busy, let's do this. I'm Jeff Grubb, I write for GamesBeat.com. I do Grubb Snacks here on GiantBomb.com, and I'm happy to be hanging out with y'all. This is the Thanksgiving Spectacular, which just means I wear this hat mostly. Also, my hat's fallen off, so I think I might just take it off. It was fun while it lasted. From Slain McAwesome. Actually, doesn't show up on the video, but whatever. What video games are you most thankful for? I don't know. I'm thankful for just about any video game I get to play. It feels kind of like miraculous that any game comes out at all these days. You know, I listen to a movie podcast, the only good movie podcast in the world, the Filmcast, and David Chin in that movie. No matter what they say about the movie, he's like, at the end of the day, it's just impressive that, whoever directed it released a movie or whatever. And it's kind of how I feel about games. Games are so difficult to make that it's kind of a miracle that anything gets released at all. That said, if I'm thinking specifically about what I'm thankful for, I guess the game I'm most thankful for is probably still Eco. Eco's the game where it's Minecraft with more systems is how I always put it. It's actually an education game about modeling pollution and greenhouse gases and the human effect that you might have on animal populations and forests and deforestation, all that stuff. It models all that stuff. It even models, if you walk in the grass, it'll begin wearing trails in the grass and stuff like that, just to show the effect you have. It's for kids mostly, but its systems are so intricate that I was able to create an economy with the people, with my friends that we were playing with, and we had our own currency, and that caused an economic collapse. And just being able to play around in that and economic systems like that is something that I was like, hey, I like economy as a thing I listen to in podcasts and read books about economics. It's but it's the kind of thing where it's a weird science where you can't really experiment on it because it's unethical to experiment on humans with different economic systems and stuff like that. So you could try some things here and there, but for the most part it's a science where you can't really run experiments. And it's oh, in this video game you actually could test those ideas. And it was really, I was really thankful that someone went through the effort of empowering players to do that. So yeah, it's one of my favorite games of all time, one of my top 3 favorite games of all time. So Eco, and it's the one that of my favorite games, it's the one that's the most obscure, so it's the one I like to shout out the most. Correct. With Sega mentioning that they want to spend up to $1 billion on the super game, do you know what kind of game they are trying to make? I mean, a super game to me just means a game that can be, basically just means Final Fantasy 14 at this point. It means it could be the one game that a large number of people are always playing, and they always want to be playing. And yeah, what does that end up looking like coming from Sega? I don't know. It's tough to say. I mean, to me, it feels like they don't even necessarily know themselves right now. I think they have an idea, but you can't just go make a Final Fantasy 14. You can't become that game by being exactly one of those that already exists. You need to start forging your own path a little bit. At least I think you do, because I mean, maybe things have changed, but I imagine trying to do a World of Warcraft killer today, or a Final Fantasy 14 alike today, I would imagine it would work a lot like it did when people were trying to do World of Warcraft killers years ago. But maybe things have changed a little bit. We do see something like New World come along, and now everyone jumps to that and gives it a chance, because maybe there's a huge cohort of players now who are willing to give the next big thing a chance. Now, I think that's specific to MMOs right now, because there are people who are MMO players, and there's a lot of them, and they know that's what they like, and they sort of have moved past, most of them have moved past only wanting to play World of Warcraft, and they want to try the new thing. Now, I don't know if Sega is going to be doing an MMO. I don't know if that's necessarily what they mean by a super game, but it's definitely it's still going to have to incorporate a lot of MMO elements for it to sort of to be the thing that a person can play forever. That's the thing that I think is the most key here. Is it's got to have a lot of online social hooks, and yeah, $1 billion. Do you need to invest $1 billion in that? To me, I would not. I would probably take my time, start a little bit smaller than that, and then save a lot of that billion for the first big update when you have to fix everything that you failed at the first time. That's what I would do. But we'll see. From Pudge, are 343 Industries going to respond to Halo fans grumbling about microtransactions and customization in Infinite, or are they going to fall back on the game's success to justify the lack of free armor customization options? I mean, they'll respond. I mean, look, yeah, the hard part is getting people to play the game. Now the second hard part is making people happy about paying money, right? That's the second thing. Like, if you get millions of players, you could sort of have a lot of leeway in figuring out what comes next. But eventually you have to make people feel good about spending money. That is a very challenging thing to do, but it's also something that people have proved. Like, there's a lot of research, but there's a lot of examples out there of how to make people feel good about spending money on a free-to-play game, and they'll have to just get there. They will, I think, for the most part. I have some faith that they'll be able to pull that part off, because, I mean, they did all this. They delayed this game a year. They did all this work to try to make it a fun game that people were happy about, and okay. You've done that. You released the game. People are really, really excited about playing it. And it is successful, as you say. Now, are you going to ruin that by making the conversation almost exclusively about how the developers are greedy or whatever? No, they'll figure it out. For me, I'm playing the game. I'm enjoying myself. And I'm not thinking about the microtransactions too much. I spent some money on the Battle Pass. Whatever. For me, it's like I'm still kind of at a disconnect where people are talking about how, like, you used to be able to spend $60 and get all this stuff. And it's like, okay, they just gave you the game. It's free now. You didn't have to spend anything. You just get the game. And now you're talking about how greedy they are. I get it, though. It is. The microtransactions are bad. The progression is bad. And people should be able to say that, and I think that they're right to call it out. And I think that's how you get them to change. And I do think that they will respond to this. It would be really odd if the wider Xbox team has been so good about responding to criticism, if this was the thing where they just took a hardline stand and said, no, this is what it is, deal with it. Things are probably, the microtransactions are probably going to remain pretty expensive, but they just got to find better ways of presenting it, better ways of engaging that with the progression. So we're going to do a check-in on, so if people don't know, Jeff Backlar's hanging out with his family today, and he said on Bombcast yesterday, he was trying to figure out when he could start drinking. We're going to do a quick check-in. We've hooked him up to several monitoring devices. It's really bulky. He looks really awkward. Lots of batteries all over his body to run this equipment. But we're going to check in on him and see where he's at in terms of his drinking. Okay. He's feeling tipsy, everybody. He's feeling tipsy right now. So happy Thanksgiving to him. We'll see if he's going to get to lit. I'm pulling for him. I think he'll be able to get to lit before, let's see, it's 12:18 right in Eastern time right now. I think by 2 p.m. he's going to be able to get to lit, and I'm pulling for him. All right, let's do one more Bacalar check. Still tipsy, but that line, it's about to flip over to lit. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. Everyone go root for him. Go say, hey, Jeff, you get that bottle. You go back in the laundry room. You do what it takes to get through the today and tomorrow. And everyone else, have a really good Thanksgiving. I really appreciate it. You tuning in for this show every week. It's a really good time. I really do enjoy it. And there was a lot of fun just to answer questions this week for a straight hour. It's really awesome. We'll be back next week. I'll try to bring some news. We'll hang out. We'll do more questions. Until then, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.